Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Renata Tony Pennicamp.
And Psychic Tom Pheasant, Crystal Ball Unveiled.
Alright, and boy, we got some stories to cover here. First of all, probably the leading story for me. UFC on ESPN 12 happened last weekend. And there was a pretty interesting story in the co-main event because Mike Perry had no corner. He just had his girlfriend and his cut guy. That was it. And so, of course, that started a stir with other fighters' girlfriends. Why don't you have me in your corner? Me in your corner, basically. But it also...
And did you notice, Rich, this is a new one. It wasn't the blonde one that Kobe Covington had referred to as Horseface. Horseface is gone.
Oh, no.
And a new one now.
Oh, all right. Well, whoever's face it was covered by a mask. So we didn't really get to see the...
And remember what he said before the fight? He said, hey, this ain't science.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go out there and hit it. It ain't science.
Well, anyway, it paid off for him, which made other fighters comment, well, maybe that's what I should do, save a lot of money. Jeez, whether they were joking or not, who knows. But Mike Perry beat out Mickey Gall, and Gall was crafty. He was a little bit, crafty here and there, and got out of certain situations, but Perry was just better overall.
Did you happen to hear Perry's post-fight interview?
I didn't. I heard about it. It was one of those things, but I didn't actually watch the whole thing.
Well, it was an absolute classic, and then a few of my friends said I need to get a hold of him. Apparently, he thinks, because UFC does not give their fighters a W-2. You are not their employee. They will not pay your medical bills. They are not going to pay to your retirement. You get your independent contractor, and you were paid by Form 1099-R. Well, not R, but just 1099 miscellaneous. So, therefore, there's no tax taken out of that. You need to file.
Yeah.
And Platinum assumed that was Platinum's money to spend, because he spends, apparently, quite a bit, and now he's going to go up against a different kind of puncher, so I may have to get a hold of Platinum.
Yeah, the IRS issue. He can always declare himself, in this protest times, he can declare himself a separate country. Take care of that.
That's going to work. I don't think that's going to work. And
go live on Yaz Island and just desert the taxes.
Well, and he said they've been paying foreign countries all kinds of money.
Yes.
Well, I thought myself, this is sure, and I said, well, there is a foreign tax credit or a foreign tax deduction. We can go with either one, whatever's best. And he said, I thought he says, that's Platinum's money.
Yeah. That's funny.
They give me that. Just, I ain't asking for no more money. Just take the taxes out. No, they're not going to do that, Platinum. They're not going to do that. You need to get some help. So,
he needs a financial advisor. That's not his girlfriend, right? Financial advisor as his girlfriend would not work out well. He would have a couple closets full of fashion material and no training gear. But anyway, Mike Perry got the win, and he might not start a revolution there, but points out a lot of serious issues about fighter pay, as much as we joke about it. Because, a guy in this position, like he said, he owes people money just to fight. It's like, it's a tough environment. And then you're waiting for fights longer than usual. The money pool is not there. And meanwhile, the UFC, despite being one of the only sports in action right now, is getting hammered on the fight pay issue. Even Mike Tyson has come out to talk about it. But we know a lot of champions are kind of bowing out. Henry Cejudo just left. We don't know if that was seriously a money issue or not, but he's more and more leaning towards wrestling, I believe. But he's in the news because Tony will like this. Ryan Garcia, who's on the shelf due to promotional spats, I guess you could call him, with Oscar De La Hoya, has proposed that an MMA and boxing match be held between him and Henry. Just because he happened to compliment Henry's striking on his last fight and just suggested something about boxing, and then all of a sudden Henry Cejudo called him out on it. So he's all right, we can do MMA and boxing, but he's promising to knock him out in boxing either way. And I
would agree. I think my money would be on Ryan Garcia. That one, definitely.
And we've actually seen Ryan Garcia do something with his off time that a lot of fighters might not do when they're having a promotional dispute. Instead of going out there and bad-mouthing Oscar 24/7 and trying to make money back in the ring, he's doing a lot of social media stuff. Whether he's getting paid for it or not, I don't know, but he is definitely elevating his status. And we talked about those YouTubers, Logan Paul and whatever the other guy's name was, who fought each other over in the UK and made a ton of money. And so Logan Paul the other day decided to do the Ryan Garcia body shot challenge. And he did not fare as well as a professional would, let's just say. He probably went to the hospital. That was what the story said. But he probably broke a rib or ruptured his spleen or something. But yeah, you could tell right away he did. Yeah, he regretted that decision. Garcia has hands of steel for sure.
Yeah, he does. 135 pounds, and he gets every bit of it into it. Plus, I think he's a little bigger. Obviously, the can't fight.
Yeah. But anyway, he hasn't talked to De La Hoya in a while. But he's just focused on waiting for his next fight. But anyway, he does expect a huge one. And as far as Henry goes, he says, if I do it, it better be at some crazy event because it's going to be the easiest fight I've ever had in my life. Let's do it in boxing first. Get you some money. Get you knocked out. And then I'll go to MMA. If you don't knock me out in MMA, then you're a bum. I promise you, if you don't submit me or do whatever you have to do, you're trash. So, yeah. That's how fights start. So the funny part is...
Too much time on their hands.
Yeah,
Too much time.
This is probably the funniest line from Garcia. The only time I seen him was his last fight he had. I actually liked his hands and wrote him a message that he was pretty good and not to retire. I tweeted that, and he ended up going crazy. I didn't even call you out, my guy. Now I'm going to have to knock him out. He's a cool dude, but I have to knock him out. That's funny. Rules of the streets. But yeah, the UFC pay dispute, it's getting on a lot of people's nerves. Mike Tyson weighed in on it. Let me get the article to load up here and I'll tell you what he said. Oh, sorry, this content is not available right now. Well then. So long to that. Anyway, changing gears. I guess Mike Tyson said something about UFC. We talked about this guy a couple weeks ago. He was spoiling for an upset. Cassius Clay Collard, 7-2-3, and he got it. He got it against an undefeated fighter, right? David Kaminsky.
Yeah.
6-0.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, the guy's name is, Cassius Clay, but he fights in the exact opposite style of the original Cassius Clay / Muhammad Ali. This Cassius Clay is very rough and tumble and in your face and there's no floating like a butterfly or stinging like a bee. You know, he's just like one of them just rough, tough, back alley kind of fighters. You know, and you know when he fought, you know, Kaminsky, I mean, he really like roughed him up to the point like he sent him to the hospital and everything. You know, and you know, thankfully it wasn't very serious. But like, you know, you get a guy like, you know, Clay, like he's going to give you a good effort every time, and you have to pack a lunch if you're going to fight a guy like him.
Right. Yeah, he will go deep and make you pay if you're not in shape. But he's not very sophisticated the way he just goes at you.
Nope.
Just comes right at you and more offensive than defensive, and it works. It works for guys who think, oh, well, this is a tune-up fight. No, this guy's aiming to win. So anyway, Floyd Mayweather, okay, got the boxing record, 50-0, retired champion, right? Wrong. It's not the record anymore. We have a minimum weight champion, Wan Hang Menayothin. Probably butchered that. Retired, 54-0, 18 knockouts. Just retired end of June. So, Floyd, call up Guinness. Tell him you want to take your name out of the record books. Put you in second place. Because I don't think this guy can afford to figure it out. He's getting some press for it anyway. He's obviously from the Middle East. I mean, not the Middle East. From the Asian countries over there. Thailand. And he actually surpassed Mayweather in 2018. He went to 51-0. But the record was retiring undefeated as a champion. And he's a champion, so... WBC won the WBC Youth title, the WBC Interim International title, and the WBC International Silver title, and then finally won the WBC's full minimum weight champion in 2014. He made 12 defenses. So last bout took place back in October of last year. Won a 12-round unanimous decision. So he's going to just stop boxing. He says, my parents, siblings, never been in boxing. I decided everything for myself. I know how I feel. No one knows my body as much as I do. Everyone needs money, but I would like to heal my body. Congratulations to everyone who supports me. Thank you for all the strength that you have always given me, he stated. He's going to go eat some Mexican beef with Canelo, and then he's going to fight Mayweather for the real record. That'll heal your body. Anyway. So. File a grievance with the Mayweather people. Now here's an interesting story. A fighter quit a UFC fight, and there was a lot of controversy surrounding it. His trainers and everything like that kept trying to tell him to go back out there. And he said, I'm done. And they're going to send him back out there. They were just going to go with it. And then the ref and the doctor came over and asked him, and he said, no, I'm done. To them. So they stopped it. But actually, for once in his bald-ass life, Dana White has come out in defense of a guy who didn't want to be exciting and crazy and wild. He just wanted to go home that night. He got the better of him in the fight. So, anyway. He also talked about Bob Arum. Here's just a couple quotes from White. So he says about Bob Arum having fans at his fights. So this a-hole is saying he's going to have fans at his fights when a few weeks ago he was talking shit about me for even going. Then I go, and now he's going right after. I'm going, but he's going to have fans all of a sudden too. He's an asshole. Then this guy Max Roshkop was the guy that quit on his stool basically, but was more of a, his body was not cooperating. He was done. he had a bad outing. You know, Dana White actually said this. Believe it or not, don't faint when you hear this. But he said you should absolutely be able to quit. I know it's frowned upon. There is no shame in getting here and finding out that you're not it. Anybody that would ridicule a kid like that, F you. From trying to do what he did tonight. Very few people can do it. So yeah, the shocker of the century. Dana White is okay with quitting. Certain circumstances, I suppose you could say. But anyway. The rest of that card we didn't finish talking about UFC on ESPN 12. I did not get to see the main event, but Dustin Poirier always comes to fight, and he had obviously a 5-round war with Dan Hooker. Did you get to see all that, Tom? Kind of cut out after like half of Mike Perry. Tom, are you with us?
Funny, I saw part of that fight.
Really?
Yeah. I was waiting for the boxing match to start, which I ended up falling asleep for. I watched the last 4 rounds of the UFC fight.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
It was pretty good. I mean, it was like, you know, I had been doing some. I was like, okay, the fight's starting at 11. So I went down, and then my dad was like, dude, UFC fight's still on. Like, these boys are banging. They're all stand-up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there was a lot of stand-up. You know, there were some, you know, takedowns, and there were some, submission attempts. But a lot of solid punches. And, I mean, it was pretty action-packed.
Yeah, it was crazy. From what I heard. Tom, did you get to see it? Did we lose Tom?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, there we
go. No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Did you see the main event of UFC on ESPN 12?
Yes. And the sad thing is we didn't have a live crowd.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that would have been like?
Yeah,
that was
I agree.
Both these guys gave everything they had.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, you know, you have this fighter pay dispute, and then you have these fights like this. Like Tony said, there was almost all stand-up. And you know, as a fighter, that's what the crowd wants to see. But, you know, you have to kind of imagine how they're reacting in this scenario now. You can't get that immediate reaction that you would get from a crowd to show that you're doing good, you know, but... You know, it all ends up being your corners screaming at each other. So, oh, shit. Hold on. There goes my cats again. So, USC on ESPN 12. Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker. So what I was going to say is I kind of randomly caught a replay of one of the Tough seasons. And a guy named Julian Lane was on there. And there's the phrase, "Let me bang, bro," was probably the theme of the episode. And it was just such a swirling pool of issues in this one episode. And, hindsight is 20/20, but the one voice of sanity in the house at the time was not Dan Hooker, but... what was his name? Mike Ritchie, who ended up...
Dustin Poirier.
No, Mike Ritchie, who ended up leaving the UFC to go back to being a stockbroker because he wasn't making enough money. But he made his bones on that show. He did pretty well. And, he didn't... I don't think he won that season, but he came pretty close. And he did pretty well. And Dana White actually came into the house on the clip that they showed. And he said, "You guys aren't being exciting enough. You guys that are winning, you're not being exciting enough. You're not acting like you want to be here." And then he left. And all these guys are getting depressed with themselves. And they set themselves up for a night of drinking. Hard alcohol. Like, a lot of it. But Mike Ritchie, about 5 minutes after Dana leaves, paces around the kitchen and says, "Don't believe a word that motherfucker says," basically, you know? Believe in yourselves, you know? You can do it. So it was just like, wow, you know? You can tell early who's going to be that person that's going to stand up for, you know, all the fighters, and who's just going to listen to the party line and try to go out there and fucking kill yourself. But rather than being exciting in the cage, they translated that to being exciting in the house, and decided to rumble with each other in the middle of the night. And Julian Lane was trying to fight everybody, even his friends. And he kept like almost crying, going, "Just let me bang, bro! Just let me bang!" And it was like a bunch of friggin' jacked up, huge built athletes being encouraged to be together in a house, and then you throw a powder keg of alcohol in the mix, and they just all get hyped up, and it was just like, wow. You know, I wonder if they had armed security in the background to really prevent this from becoming massive amounts of lawsuits or somebody ending up dead. Because one of the kids, this Julian Lane guy, was punching walls without even feeling it. Like, just punching walls. So, and that kind of thing had been done before, like, jokingly. And there was a guy that actually did, like, a goal line stance with a wall. With a football, and injured his shoulder and sued the show, but he lost. Mikey something. What was it? Mikey Burnett? Mikey Burnett. He actually was in the news last time we talked about it.
I remember that.
So, I mean, they've encouraged this kind of crazy attitude, don't care about anything, like put your body at risk behavior since the beginning of the show. And that was just like one of the ultimate examples of why they do it, because they want the excitement. And Dana White admits it on tape, like, you know, you guys got to be exciting. So some guys think, well, you know, I guess, you know, my fighting isn't exciting enough. Maybe I got to get drunk and just go into a rage against somebody. That will be exciting enough for Dana. But now it's still that kind of element, even without the Fertittas in charge. It's still that element of you have to perform, you have to shine in the way that we want you to, as far as, you know, showing brutality in the cage, or else you don't get these opportunities, you don't get these bonuses, you don't get elevation, you stay at the level that you're at. And one of the memes going around Facebook today is describing how most fighters in the UFC at the lower level get about $12,000 for a fight, yet ring girls make about $30,000 a year, or something even north of that if they're doing modeling shoots too. So, yeah, that's the reality.
I've heard Bruce Buffer makes about 6 figures every event.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know how true that is, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
I read that somewhere.
We interviewed him for about 15 minutes, way back, like years ago. I don't even think he knew my history with the UFC when he agreed to the interview. But I think I did get to ask him one question about the Fertittas and how they treat him, and he said, you know, well, as long as you're loyal to them, they're loyal to you, which didn't surprise me. But yeah, Bruce actually also handles all the stuff for his brother Michael. And they're not blood brothers, I guess. They're some other type of brothers, foster brothers.
I think it's either different mothers or different fathers. They share one parent.
Yeah. So Michael Bruce took over all the legal stuff and actually trademarked everything. You know, let's get ready to rumble. That's trademarked now. Trademarked his one. You know, it's time. So they make money every time somebody tries to say that at an event, or every time they use that in a song. It's been used in a lot of songs, I'm sure. Raps, probably more than anything. So yeah, he gets paid. Michael Buffer gets paid every time that phrase is used anywhere, or somebody gets sued. So that's kind of an interesting way they make money. You don't see fighters doing that kind of stuff. They're everything is gone through the UFC. You know, their likeness, their rights. And it brings back another story from back in the day. Guy that would not sign the rights agreement to the video game. John Fitch. They fired him immediately when he spoke out against it. And then they brought him back when he ended up signing it. Or something to that effect. And then they cut him like 2 fights later because he wasn't exciting enough. But he had come out as a rabble-rouser, you know, one of those guys that would push the boundaries. So that didn't help. But anyway, he was sort of a wrestle-fucker, as Tom would call him.
I just saw a fighter on ESPN get knocked out with a jab, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I see him rolling right now.
A jab, and he's out of the ring. I don't know if it caught him in the eye or something, because he was holding it, but
yeah, it looks like his
definitely went out. Yeah, it wasn't a thumb.
His orbital bone or something. Probably cracked his orbital bone.
Maybe.
Yep, knocked him into next week. Through the ropes. Anyway, we also had the Maurice Green versus Gian Vellante fight to talk about on UFC on ESPN 12. That was probably also one of the more surprising outcomes. An arm triangle choke from the bottom for Maurice Green when he was on the receiving end of a total beatdown from Gian Vellante. And Gian looked like he just got gassed out and then just caught in a compromising position. And not only did he arm triangle him, he sucked his face right into his chest so that the guy couldn't breathe. You know, so that didn't help him. And then, you know,
yeah, I think it was just that was exhaustion, just exhaustion.
So he choked him out basically, and Gian Vellante was going for it. It was kind of a sloppy stunner. It wasn't the prettiest fight, but a little bit of craziness at the end. We also had Brendan Allen beating Kyle Daukaus, unanimous decision. Takashi Sato knocking Jason Witt right out 48 seconds into the first. Julian Erosa over Sean Woodson by Brabo choke 2 minutes and 44 seconds into round 3. Kama Worthy over Luis Pena by guillotine choke 2 minutes and 53 seconds into the third. And in the third fight tonight we had Tanner Bozer over Philippe Lins, also a knockout in the first. 2 minutes and 41 seconds in from punches. Second fight of the night, Kay Hansen winning by armbar. 2 minutes and 26 seconds into the third over Jin Yufrey. First fight of the night, Yusuf Zalaf over Jordan Griffin by unanimous decision. And then we have this weekend, the opening of Fight Island. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns in Abu Dhabi. Usman is 16-1. Burns is 19-3. And I don't know. I mean, I like to go with the hot hand, and Kamaru Usman has looked pretty dominant. And it doesn't look like anybody can really knock him off his pedestal right now. Gilbert Burns is basically the next up, but you know, what can he really do that anybody else hasn't tried to do to Usman? He's just very durable, very patient, very calm in all of his fights. Gilbert seems more like a loose cannon, and I don't know if that's going to help himself or hurt him. So I'm going to go with Usman on this one. What do you think about that, Tom?
I would agree. I mean, you got to go with. So far, I mean, his performances are just where they need to be. He's the champ for a reason. But Burns, man, he's got this whole weight thing figured out.
Yeah.
Because I guess that was a huge problem at 155 for him. He was cutting a lot, and he's just looked great in his last several fights. So, like you said, he's very unconventional. So we should be in for a fun night, as long as it lasts.
Well, you know, I don't think they have the level of animosity that Usman and Covington had, but
No, not at all.
definitely be a rage factor for Gilbert. Either way. The co-main event's pretty interesting, too. We've got just one defeat for Alexander Volkanovski with 21 wins. And then we got 21 wins for Max Holloway that go with 5 losses. And Max Holloway is not a defensive-minded fighter. He does not block his face well. And it's one of those things that, like Dana White and all that stuff I just talked about, encourages. They encourage lack of defense, unfortunately. They just want you to go out there and slug toe-to-toe. They think people will pay for that. So they want you to do it. No matter what it does to your brain in the long run, your physical capabilities and, everything else, your facial structure, they want you to do that. And Max is a perfect, picture-perfect image of what they want, because he does it every fight. And it's like the analogy I always come up with, and the guy is Henry Corrales when we had him on the show, and he was proud of the fact that he had to get new teeth. So, I mean, that's the mentality of some of these guys that just want to turn heads and just want to just go out there and put themselves at risk no matter what. And in some sense, you want to be like, all right, this guy's exciting, I love him. But in some other sense, you just want to scream at him, put your damn hands up, So, if Max Holloway puts his damn hands up, this could be a fight. If not, if he's got more of the same, then Volkanovski's going to take him to school. So I'm going to go with Volkanovski on that one, because I don't believe Holloway is that type of fighter who's going to learn to do that. He's just too hardwired to come in with his hands at his chest and try to use head movement to get away with it. And he doesn't move like Roy Jones Jr., so that ain't happening. In the past, he has been able to do some of that and make it work, but against a lot lesser opponents. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against Volkanovski. That's my take on that one. What's your crystal ball say, Tom?
I slightly disagree with you there, because Max a lot of times does what he's not supposed to do. I mean, remember when he was fighting Ortega, he was supposed to lose, really. Ortega was Mr. Magic in there, and Max rose to the occasion. Going into where he lost the title, he was supposed to win. And if you look back in his career, a lot of it's like that. So I get the feeling this is going to be closer than we think.
All right. Crystal ball says
we'll see if I'm right.
For Max Holloway.
Yeah. Crystal ball says, because Max, he loses again, it's really going to be devastating for him.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to really be, and like you said, too, can he make the adjustments? But it's going to be challenging, but I kind of get the feeling. And have you seen the odds, Rich? I haven't seen them.
No, but I'm assuming the way that Sherdog sets it up is the favorite is on the left, just by looking at it. So I would assume Alexander is the favorite, just record-wise, because he's 21-1, and Holloway is 21-5, and is coming off a loss. So, but that's just my assumption. And you know what they say about assuming. I should know the betting odds, because I really have to look into this and start betting. Because New Hampshire has legalized sports betting. I can go on FanDuel and bet on this right now. At the sports book side of it. Not even on fantasy shit. So, I really need to start relying on your crystal ball analysis, Tom, and making money.
Yeah.
And see what it's all about. But anyway, yeah. I'll have to look into that more often. And we can talk about that on the show, too. But anyway, Peter Yan is also on the card. He's 14-1, fighting Jose Aldo, who is a 28-6 legend of the sport. But how much does he have left in the tank? What can he still do? Peter is kind of a sleeper hit in the UFC. He kind of came out of nowhere. But he's been around a little bit. He's been in some tough fights, and Jose could definitely beat him, but Peter could definitely pull an upset, too. We don't know. This is one of those ones I would say is a toss-up for me. I don't want to pick a winner. I'll say you pick it, Tom. See what the Magic 8 Ball says.
I just think Aldo is a day late and a dollar short. I mean, the guy's been around and performing at the highest level since, the WEC days.
Yeah.
You remember when he first came around and just demolished Uriah Faber in front of Faber's hometown fans with those just brutal soccer kicks. But I don't think he's ever been quite the same after Conor McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think Aldo was ready for anything like that. And I mean, he's had some good fights, and he's still an ex-champ. You know, when you have that former world champion, you never count him out. But I just don't think he's there now. So I am going with Peter.
All right, you heard it here first. Jessica Andrade, 20-7 against Rose Namajunas, 8-4. Thug Rose is coming off a bad loss. You know, it was a shocker. She wasn't expecting it. She was, but she also kind of sounded in the post-fight interview a little bit like Anderson Silva when he lost the title for the first time, and started talking about the pressure involved in being a champion. So I think a lot of it was mental for her going into that fight, but it was also a long string of her looking invincible that ended. So this is going to be more than ring rust here. This is going to be a little bit of, being gun shy, I guess you might see in this fight. But if she can overcome that and go toe-to-toe with Jessica and be smart about it this time and not get caught, she could win this one. She could put it all back together. But Andrade is a tough opponent to come back to after something like that. Usually, in most cases, somebody who really wanted to just drive the career and not put you in the most exciting fight would say, okay, Rose came off a tough one, we're going to put her in against, somebody that she could probably beat. But no, UFC says, sword of the lion, Jessica Andrade, the lioness. Yeah, I know that's not her nickname, but she's another one just like her. So this is going to be a scrap. This is going to be one of those female fights that people talk about for a long time, I think, and it's probably going to go all 3 rounds unless it ends very early with some kind of stunner. I think first round or all 3. That's what I'm going to go with. And I'm just going to go with Rose, just because when she's on fire, she is unstoppable, and she's had a lot of time to prepare. I think it's going to be to her advantage, not her detriment. And Jessica does have, a lot of losses on her record, and she can be kind of overwhelmed by certain styles. So I think it's going to be Rose again in this one. She's going to try to climb back to the top, and this is going to be her first step.
I would agree.
All right.
She's another one that kind of does what's unexpected.
Yeah. I like Andrade just because she's clickable. She just comes right at you. But that could be dangerous for, again, like Holloway. If you don't keep your hands up, if you make one mistake, Rose is going to be capitalizing on it. So, you gotta be careful. Then we've got Volkan Ozdemir, 17-4 against Jiri Prochazka. Yikes, these guys are the journeymen on the card in the 9th fight. 17-4 for Ozdemir. Prochazka is 26-3-1. And then we got Paige Van Zandt coming off Instagram to get some fight money. She's 8-4, fighting Amanda Ribas, who's 9-1. We got Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, 22-6, fighting Muslim Salikov, who is 16-12, or 2. Sorry, don't mean to give you 10 more losses there just because you're a Muslim. Mark.
I wonder if it's Christian.
Christian.
For Jew.
Yeah. Salikov. I don't know. That's probably, he probably is a Muslim. But anyway, we don't want to make generalizations. Especially these days. Makwan Amirkhani, also on the card, 15-4, fighting Danny Henry. 12-3. Arcani 15-4. Leonardo Santos 17-3 with one draw, fighting Roman Bogatov, who is 10-0. I wonder if he's called the Bogatov cocktail. Anyway, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I've ever seen him fight before. Fourth fight of the night, Marcin Tybura, 18-6, fighting Maxim Grishin, who is 37-2. Zygas Zumagulov, 13-3, fighting Raulian Paiva, 19-3. Second fight of the night, Carol Rosa, 12-3, fighting Vanessa Milo, 10-7. First fight of the night, Martin Day, 8-3, fighting Davy Grant, who is 11-4. That brings us to the boxing, Tony.
Yeah.
Now it's all you. You have to take the rest of the show.
Okay.
Last week's results. We had some fights Tuesday. I kind of kept the corner of my eye on them, but I really didn't watch them closely. Alex Saucedo had a win over Sonny Fredrickson.
Yes. Saucedo looked pretty good in that fight. He was expected to win. He's a prospect. They were saying, like, one of his issues in his career, which he is now, and this can be, either a good or a bad thing. He had, like, that Arturo Gatti type of style where it was face first, and, you hit me, I'll hit you. You hit me twice, I'll hit you harder. But, he was enduring some, hellacious facial beatings in some of those fights. And it was the mark of, a short career, and a career where, like, your skin is definitely not going to, take to a long career. So now he's trying to, box a little bit more. But a couple of the issues with that is, one, okay, first of all, not everybody can be an Arturo Gatti or a Boom Boom Mancini or, guys like that generally do have shorter careers but memorable careers. Not everybody can do that. Some guys do have to, sometimes make changes. The problem is, do you want to get away from what brought you to the dance? That's one thing. A guy like Marco Antonio Barrera was able to do it. He became more of a boxer. The other issue is sometimes it depends on your versatility. Some guys went from being straight-up brawlers to being very good boxers, and vice versa. Matthew Saad Muhammad started off as kind of like, a cutie type of boxer. And then, lost a fight here, and it was like, what, this ain't working. Let me just, just become this war of attrition type guy and, win fights just on my heart and will. Other guys that tried to adapt or adopt a different style didn't really work for them. And the worst is when you get caught between two styles. And that happened to me even during my time. Was coming off my knee injury, I tried to box a little bit more, but first of all, a lot of the officials weren't expecting me to box more, and second of all, I wasn't doing what brought me to the dance, and I was fighting too much on the end and wasn't successful. So now, where is Saucedo in the middle of this? Does he go back to what brought him to the dance at the risk of having a short career? Or does he try to elongate his career but maybe not be as marketable?
Yeah. Was he the one that didn't have his father in the corner because of the coronavirus bullshit?
No, that was I believe earlier fight. I watched every one of them. I'm forgetting names, of course, but that was the other young fighter, and this is how showing you how serious this coronavirus, restrictions are. It's like when you first heard it, it's like, oh my God, it's somebody test positive, or what happened? What happened? He literally left the floor of his casino and went down to the floor to have a cup of coffee. He broke the quarantine, and they're like, well, you're done. You're out.
So he couldn't corner his own son.
Yeah.
In the fight.
And you could see, his son was very emotional over that. I mean, they were trying to talk to him, like, minutes before he got in the ring, and he was crying. And even my dad's watching, saying, like, well, you know what? But it's like, let the kid go, You can see he's emotional. You don't, you're like, fucking with his head, like, minutes before getting in the ring.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
They were like, okay, look at that.
Yeah.
We made him emotional.
I was a little upset, a little bit. Because he played,
exactly. I felt the same way, Tony. I thought, I turned it off for a second, and then I went back and damn, you're still talking to him. Shut up.
It's like, I've had times, even in my career, it's like, example, like, you're getting ready, you know what you have to do, and you know how much focusing that you need to really do on this, and when something happens like that, it really does, throw off your concentration, and I know little ridiculous things during my time that bothered me. I mean, much smaller things than that, but to an example was the one time I'm getting ready to fight. It was the night I fought Michael Jordan at Lock Haven, and I'm ready. My mind is on point. I'm warming up. I'm gloving up. I got my gloves on. I'm behind. We had like the bleachers. I was behind the bleachers. I was working the pads a little bit. And I am literally about 7 or 8 minutes from walking to the ring, and a bunch of my college buddies, and they had been drinking before the show even started. So they come, and I know, and I appreciate what they wanted to do, but they come over, out of the bleachers. They come over to me, and they're like, yeah, and they start, but then they're talking nonsense. They're talking like the one guy's doing an Undertaker impersonation, and the other guy's doing this, and I just turned my back and walked away, and someone else is like, listen, he's to the point of ready to go. You can't talk to him right now. I even know I did that to my dad one time. My dad had come up to me before a fight, and he was, like trying, and he was saying stuff, and I'm like, I turned and walked away. I'm like, I know what I got to do.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody else right now in my presence I wanted to be alone.
I don't know if that was Josue Vargas or John Bauza, but those were the two other guys that got the win Tuesday night. Vargas won over Salvador Casino. It was Vargas, okay. So I don't know who it was that actually ended up cornering him. It was another relative, I think, but helped him.
It said like somebody that had been with him, and Rivas, the guy's name was.
Yeah. So then we had John Bauza beating Lawrence James Friars. And so that rounded out the big fights last Tuesday. Tonight we have one result already here on BoxRec. I don't know if they've updated it since then, but let me check. Oh, hold on. Update it. No, we got Carlos Jackson losing to Jose Enrique Durantes Vivas. I don't know if that's on this card. That's what they're showing. But the funny thing is, okay, we've only got like 3 fight cards this weekend, right? But I don't know if we're going to have our Jesus fight of the week, or we're going to have a couple other categories. We've got some other categories locked up that we usually do. So we're going to start with tomorrow night, the 3rd of July. 4th of July Eve. And I believe there's one card. Waiting for Box Rec here. Come on, Box Rec. Who can do it? Okay. I need it. Waiting for Box Rec. Okay. So, we've got the Russia middleweight title on the line on Russia Match TV in Moscow, Russia. So, even in a communist country, they still have boxing going right now. Middleweights, Magomed Madiev, who is 14-0-1, against Artur Osipov, who is 16-2. And we have a co-main event, I guess you could call it. Probably not. 2-0. Somebody's 2-0's got to go. Pavel Silyagin, he is 2-0. Artish Lopsan is 2-0-1. Got a draw. And we got another undefeated fighter matchup. Welterweights, Shakabas Makhmudov, 6-0, against Fedor Glazkov, who's 4-0-1. And we got a little journeyman fight in the middle at super welterweight. Sergey Vorobiev, journeyman for this card anyway, 9-1 against Pavel Mamontov, who is 12-9-2. Lost 5 out of his last 6. So that's it for that one. Worth mentioning anyway. And then we go to Saturday, where I believe we have 2 cards. Different countries. One of them's in Mexico. But we haven't heard a lot about coronavirus. I believe that the worst place that it's spreading is in the refugee camps of people trying to get into the United States.
Really?
Yeah, by the border. There's a bunch of refugee camps, and they're not allowing the border open yet. So a lot of these people are putting up encampments, and they're all spreading coronavirus. Anyway, nothing spectacular, no titles on the line, but there's some interesting fights, especially on the Mexico card. But there's some other funny ones on the German card on Saturday. So first we'll go to the Mexican card in Mexico City, Mexico. Mauricio Lara, 18-2 against Alejandro Palmero, who's 8-5-1. Pretty much figure out who's probably going to win that one. But then these other two are very interesting. Carlos Ocampo at super welterweight. He is 27-1. Has 1 loss in his last 6 fights. Fighting Jorge Luis Garcia Perez, who is 18-2. But those two have come also in his last 6 fights. I think both of them are coming off a loss, if I'm reading this little green thing correctly. Green and red thing on Box Rec. That's all I'm seeing on this. But then there's this fight. Jackie Nava, 35-4-4. Doesn't tell you the weight here. It's just blank on the weight. But he's fighting Estrella Valverde, who is 18-6-2. And just 1 loss in the last 6 for him. But then we have the German card, and we have the mismatch of the week in the main event. We have cruiserweights. Fete Altunkaya. If you rearrange the letters of his first name, you have Faith. I think he has faith because he's 15-0. He's going up against Rita Amine, who is 0-6. 0-6. Nada. No wins. Believe it or not, there's only 2 fights out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 fights out of 7 on this card where the opponent has more than 0 wins. There's 1 fight, 6-1, Stephanie Koikov at super middleweight. She's fighting Lars Burry. Or he's fighting, I don't know. Stephanie could be a male's name over there. Lars Burry, who is 6-5. And then you got Nicholas Levine. He's 6-0, fighting Nagibullah Nazari, who is 2-2. And then everybody else is 0-1. And then you got a celebrity in the house too, I think, over in Germany. Marco Lesnar, Brock Lesnar's secret long-lost twin brother. He spells it differently though. He's 4-0, fighting Bashar Makhmalji, who is 0-1. And he even got a TBA on the card. Fight on Saturday. Well, that's about it. Worth mentioning on the schedule. Nothing else in the big news. Let's see if I missed anything. I don't think so. I think that's about it. So you guys go, we gotta check the recent ones. Tonight's linky links. Alright, we already talked about Ryan Garcia challenging Henry Cejudo. Michael Nunn and Pat Miletich. We forgot to talk about that. You guys heard about that one, right? Michael Nunn?
Yeah, and I'm trying to process it now. Fill us in now.
What is it?
Yeah, I heard something come up on it, and I think that it's political. I think that, again, my memory's failing.
Yeah, they're doing it. I thought it was just a rumor. And then I saw that John Scully said he hadn't even heard about it, and he's been communicating with Nunn for years. You know, they fought each other. So, he didn't know about it, and then now it's on paper, it's on a poster I put on Facebook today.
Yeah.
So it's happening.
That's like when I saw it, I was like, cages, or what is it, gates open? I was like, gates open? I'm like, what, are they having a live crowd?
Yeah.
Like, that sounded weird.
Yeah.
Then you're like, yeah, it's because they're caging everybody in.
I don't know, maybe they're talking about the cage. Gates open of the cage. Because
Okay, now what started this, Rich?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know if it's a charity thing, if it's a real fight. I think it's bare knuckle or something. I don't even know if it's MMA. I don't think there's going to be MMA. I think it's going to be just striking, but it's pretty sure it's bare knuckle. But I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Let me click on the link and see if we can clarify all this. Michael Nunn and Pat Miletich. Alright, so we'll get to that in a minute. See what else. Yeah, Bruce Buffer makes more money per fight than women fighters. That's an article circulating right now.
How about men fighters? Most men fighters, he makes more also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember years ago when it was like as low as $8,000 guys were making for fights on the preliminary cards.
I mean, yeah.
Now it's...
And then I remember in the first couple ones, it was $1,000 to show. If you lost, that was it, $1,000.
Yeah. So, very interesting. Okay. Oh, another story we didn't talk about while we're waiting for this other one to load. On Pat Miletich. Jarrell Big Baby Miller. How many times are you gonna fuck your life up, buddy?
Yeah.
It's a big oops on his part. Tested positive again for banned substances. Supposed to be his comeback situation, and he's back on the juice. So, yeah. Maybe he thought the pandemic was going to last longer than it has. Even though they're trying to restart the pandemic on us. Anyway. So let's see the Pat Miletich. Yeah. Of course, he's trying to say he never willingly took PEDs, Jarrell. But yeah, screwed up a big opportunity. Okay, it's a kickboxing match. So, I was wrong. Not Pat Miletich versus Michael Nunn. Kickboxing match Saturday, July 18th at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds in Davenport, Iowa. 58-4 is Nunn. Miletich, obviously UFC champion. Mixed martial arts record of 29-7-2. Deemed the Clash of Legends. So, I don't know what the situation is as far as fans. They both look pretty decent as far as, shape. I remember meeting Pat Miletich at an event in Iowa where he was the commentator for the fights that I did a bunch of work for. And I got to interview him for the website and, do a little write-up. And I found out at the event that he's actually married to a woman whose maiden name is Bergeron. So, I'm part of the Miletich family, whether I like it or not, somehow. But anyway, yeah. The story then was he was never going to come back because of his neck. He had some massive issue with his vertebrae in his neck. And I think I had asked him about that, if there was a chance that he was going to come back. And he's like, pretty much, unless I get my neck fixed, it's hopeless. So maybe he got his neck fixed. It sounds like this is not a charity exhibition. This is for real. So it's gonna be one of those. Let's wait and see, and maybe it'll be a barn burner. Maybe it'll be an embarrassment, but. You'd have to wonder what both guys have left in the tank in this one, but each one of them are capable of knocking the other out. The kickboxing aspect, I think, would favor Miletich, because Michael has never done that before, but you never know what Michael can absorb with training, so we'll see. So that's some couple things we got to look forward to there. There's a whole card around that too, and going to be curious to see how they handle that. Whether they're going to do it all by Zoom, by internet pay-per-view or something, or how they figure all that out. But anyway, Jarrell Miller, last story here before we leave. He tested positive for something called GW1516 through a urine test administered by VADA, and blew the chance at a second fight in 13 months. Miller was scheduled to fight Jerry Forrest on July 9th in Las Vegas on ESPN. And much like his fight against Anthony Joshua last year, he was removed as the headlining opponent because of his PED infraction. So he's doing the old "I took it for injuries" excuse. To win a fight during a training camp, he says, "No, I have never done that." And then now he's going to pull the "nobody can be more outraged about these allegations than me. I'm the one that's lost millions of dollars. I'm the one that's had his career on the line. But I have to think about it with a straight mind. I have to figure it out, sit down with my team, get everything in order, and get everything done in the right way. It's sad. I'm angry about it. But like I said, there is an explanation for it. And me and my legal team are working on it." Working on a contract to fight, what's his name? Who am I thinking of? Let's go, champ. Shannon Briggs. Bare knuckle. Battle of the steroid users. I'd pay to see that. That would be a war. I don't know how strictly they test those guys, but I suppose if you had them on Yaz Island, maybe you wouldn't have to deal with the commission. Anyway, suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission for a recent test. Also had his license denied by the New York State Athletic Commission recently. Says he shouldn't be banned for life. But anyway, he's going to have to do monthly testing during his suspension. Or at least he's volunteering for it. He says he's apologizing to Bob Arum. and his other manager, Jay Prince. But at the same time, I did my homework. I did put my best foot forward. I did let VADA know of certain circumstances. I did my part as a human being and as a fighter. So he's asking for a pat on the back because he said, "Hey, Veda, I might test positive for something, just so you know."
Sorry about that.
Whoops.
Interference on my phone.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's about it for the roundup. Till next week.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Maybe I'll surprise you.
Enjoy the fight.
Yes.
All right.
Adios.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Don't get blown.
No protest.
Don't get blown up by the fireworks, and don't destroy anything.
Yeah, don't break in.
Except for a 6-pack.
Well, hey, quarantine sobriety ends this weekend.
Yes.
Quarantine mullets.
Still intact. All right. We have to measure it one of these days.
All right. Yeah.
Give us the length total.
I'll be posting photos soon.
All right. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Till
You
next
guys.